Hey y'all, my name is Darren and I'm hiking the Appalachian Trail in 2020. And in this video, I wanted to go over some of the frequently asked questions that I received, as well as diving deep into some of the questions that I received and actually answering with a little better response that I could give when I would just type something out. So I'm going to go over the frequently asked questions first. Some of those are going to be a little redundant to some people who understand what the Appalachian Trail is. However, I do have some friends and family who have no idea what exactly I'm actually getting into. And so some of those folks I think will still be surprised as they see some of those videos come out once I begin my journey and they realize, yeah, I'm hiking every single day for 6 months. So let's get into it. So of course, first question is, what is the Appalachian Trail? And that, of course, is a loaded question. But some of the easier things to know about it is that this year, the trail's distance is 2,193 miles. It'll take approximately 6 months to complete. And while I began in March 15th, the estimated time for my completion is like September 12th. So keep that in mind, of course, when you realize just, a daunting task this is. This will be every single day walking up and down mountains and just living the greatest life ever. So moving on to another question that I always get, and this is, are you doing this alone? Technically, I will begin alone. Technically, this is called a solo Thru-Hike. However, be mindful that there are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people who will be embarking at some section of this trail. And there are many, many people who actually also intend on Thru-Hiking the trail as well. There are plenty of people out there. I will not be alone, although I will be starting alone. And in the beginning, to be fair, just wanting to kind of get out into nature and enjoy it, I also intend to stick to myself in the beginning. Although I am a social creature, I certainly want to just focus on myself in the beginning and make sure that I can get a good routine and get everything I need in order to complete my journey. And along the way, surely I will meet some folks. And in fact, that comes to one of the vocabulary words, that is tramley. Some folks don't understand what that means. What that is, it's your family on the trail. So these are going to be folks that you meet out there and you hike together. Perhaps you're the similar distance every day so that you end up hiking and then camping in the same area. You really get to know those people and they truly do become your family in the sense that you really connect and bond with those folks. You're spending a lot of time together, of course. So another frequently asked question that I get is, are you carrying a gun? No, I'm not. I am actually licensed in the state of South Carolina to conceal carry a firearm, and I typically do on most days when I go out in public. However, in this instance, while protection is certainly a valuable thing to have, it is also comes with a very heavy price, and heavy being the key word. A firearm plus the ammunition is going to be roughly 3 to 4 pounds. I'm not sure what mine weighs, not to mention the holster and everything else that you need in order to do that. It would be just such a hassle in itself on the weight factor alone, not to mention the safety factor. You're not necessarily always going to be in a time where that firearm is going to be in a good place. There's just instances where it would just truly be more of a hazard than anything. And for many reasons, but mostly for the weight, I will not be taking a gun with me on the Appalachian Trail. Another question that I get is, of course, what are you doing out there? Do you have cell service? What happens if something happens and you need help? So I'll be carrying with me a Garmin InReach. This is essentially a satellite phone that I can use with one button to call an SOS. Basically, if I am hurt, I can push one button and my location gets sent out to the emergency services and I can receive, rescue if necessary. Also with that, I'm able to actually text message using my phone with Bluetooth. So those two devices together allow me to be able to keep my family and friends, just a little better acquainted with where I'm at. The Garmin InReach actually has a function on it where it will share your location. So select members of my family and friends will have that information. And so probably within a couple of days, I will get that subscription started. And then what will happen is every few hours, maybe 2-3 times a day, lunch or breakfast, lunch, dinner, I hit a button, it sends a message saying, hey, I'm having fun, I'm hiking, and then it'll also give those folks a satellite readout as far as where I am at. So another question I have is that, yes, I will be pooping in the woods. And in fact, I don't know if many people who are actually aware of what privies are. Privies are an area on the trail, essentially like an outhouse. It's a glorified hole in the ground that you do your business in. Those are foul. I learned that very early on. I just cannot, unfortunately, deal with that wretched smell. And so I have a trowel, and I intend completely to just dig a hole on my own, do my business, and be done. As a man, it's certainly easier to relieve yourself, going number one, but of course, then again, you have rules to follow along with that. You want to be off the trail, away from water sources, and I can understand all of that. I try to do my best to leave no trace, and that's just that. So moving on to some of the more personal questions that I received. I received a couple of questions, not many. I did ask for some questions to be posted following a video that I made recently where I explored some of the Palmetto Trail. And so on this comment section, actually, if there's any questions that maybe I missed or something wasn't clear, if you have any questions, please put those in the comment section here below. What I most likely will do is another question and answer video like this once I am about to leave. So getting into some of the more personal questions, my friend and coworker Athena had a couple of questions. She's very interested in some of this more of the nitty-gritty details of backpacking. So one of her questions was about water and what do you do with water, and how do you procure water, how do you store it, what are we doing? So I intend to carry 2 1-liter smart water bottles. I most likely will have a sports cap to backflow my Sawyer Squeeze filtration system, either on the water bottle themselves or in my pack, and I'll just use the regular cap on the water bottles. I've heard that some people have unfortunately dropped their water bottles, broke that cap, and then they were unable to backflow and clean their water filtration system. So for water filtration, I have what's called a Sawyer Squeeze. And this is an adapter essentially that fits right on top of the water bottle, and I can take water straight from a stream and put it in that water bottle, just scoop it right up into it, and then attach that water filtration system to the end of it and drink straight from there. And I have to say, some filtered water from the earth in the colder months of the year, it creates really delicious cold water, ice cold water. I love it. Another question she had is just about mileage goals. And this is actually an interesting question because while I intend to have a mileage goal in the very beginning of approximately 8 miles a day, depending on where the shelters are or where a water source is that's convenient to camp at, I really do not have a set goal. Although I have looked at the math at 180 days, if I had just 10% of those days were zeros, 0 is a day where you hike 0 miles, then that would mean if I did 10%, that would still be 18 zeros throughout my journey. But that still means that I would have 162 days of hiking. So the math, I believe, 2193 divided by that is roughly 15 miles a day is going to be what I need to do in order to accomplish this in exactly 6 months. Now, as far as my schedule goes, I do not necessarily have a specific time that I need to finish by, as long as Katahdin's not closed. This is really my only contingency. So As long as that's good to go, then I'm just hiking. So if there's times where I need to take a break or anything, that doesn't bother me at all. And I intend to listen to my body and take breaks when necessary. So getting back to the water, I do also have a camel pouch that I have taken from a camel bag that I had, and I actually have a pouch in my pack that allows me to carry that water pouch. I believe that water pouch holds 2 liters of water. What I intend to do is in the morning, I will have all that water filtered. I will have 1 dirty water bottle for taking water straight from streams and rivers. And then I will have the other water bottle intended just for clean water, as well as keeping only clean water in the pouch as well. The pouch, I have it strings out of my pack so I can just drink from it right there without having to mess with anything. I will use that water throughout the day to keep my mouth wet, or to fight just dry mouth, and generally take short breaks. Then I will drink from that throughout the day. Then when I'm taking more consistent breaks or a longer break, maybe breakfast or lunch or a break in between, whatever it have be, then I will actually drink water from the water bottles and then keep those filtered as I go. So hopefully that answers your questions, Athena. And if you have more, which I know you will, please ask away and I will answer all of those. Now, Gringo Loco South Carolina, or SC, asked, what are you most excited for? And I've actually been talking about this a couple times with some folks, and I think they really understand. One of the most exciting things that I'm looking forward to is I want to sit down and watch a sunset from the very beginning of it, when there's just nothing in the sky, all the way until the sun is up. I think just the transition of all the colors in the sky and everything, I think that'll truly be beautiful. And I want to be able to share that with you guys too, so I look forward to recording those as well. And I also want to do that with the sunset. Sometime I want to sit down on a bald somewhere on a mountain and be able to just enjoy that sunset completely. And then night hike afterwards, probably to camp or whatever have be. So hopefully that answered your question. Now, Denver Gibson asked, when did you realize that you wanted to do this sort of adventure? And that's really kind of an interesting question, because I don't necessarily remember there being a prolific moment in my life when I was like, ooh, I gotta do this. It was more born out of curiosity and then convenience. I've said before that I don't own property. I don't have children. Right now in my life, I don't have anything that's really holding me back from doing any kind of adventure like this. And so I guess the convenience factor of it just came in to say, well, if I'm going to do this, I should do it now while I'm 29 years old. I'm still fairly young. I still have my wits about me and, my strength or whatever. And so accomplishing something like this now is just, I guess you would call it the right time. But then again, the joke is that one of the reasons that I wanted to do this in 2020 is so that, with the election this year, I just want to get away from all technology and hide in the woods and just maybe show up in November and vote, and that'd be that. I don't want to talk about politics. Politics annoys me. Anyway. So Denver, I hope that answers your question. Now, my final question, I only got 3 questions aside from Athena's questions, and that's from Jared Allred. And he asked, how am I preparing? I believe that he is a similar builded heavy hiker, and he was curious to know just what I'm doing as far as preparation. So the mental game, I don't know how much I can really prepare for myself to be out there every day. But physically, I'm doing all that I can. Another joke is that I haven't had a pedicure in several months. I have been consistently walking as often as possible. I load my pack up with almost all of my items. I don't put my sleeping bag in there just yet because I didn't want to compress that all down and have it sitting there. So I actually use a blanket. My pack right now that I train with is 31.5 pounds. I wear my pack as often as possible when I'm walking. There was some weather, so the other day I was not wearing it, but I did carry a small little bag with me that had my rain gear in it in case I needed that. But I never got rained on, which is whatever. So yeah, basically what I'm doing is I'm walking as much as possible. And there are certain distances that I have kind of mapped out where I live. And I feel like in a lot of places, even if you live somewhere where it's flat, it always is just good to get out into nature and just walk. I mean, it's one of the most so it's one of the most simplest exercises you can ever do, and it's actually very good on your body as far as being low impact. You aren't going to blow your knees out trying to do a bunch of stairs or something at the gym. Just hit the treadmill if you're not in an area where you can go outside right now. I understand that it's a little cold in some of the places in the world. It was a little chilly today. I think the weather was about 45 degrees here in the high, and felt like 37 degrees. Gale force winds. It was very windy. I walked 7 miles today up and over 2 bridges. At the top of those bridges, yeah, it was definitely windy, and my fingers were like little icicles when I was done. But that said, basically what I'm doing is just walking consistently as often as possible. The distances that I've gone are either 11 miles, 8 miles, 6 miles. Like I said, I did 7 miles today. I look forward to walking at least 6 miles a day average as I complete my training and preparation for the trail. With that, in closing, I received one of the last items that I need. It is actually a compression bag for my sleep system so that I can have that stored away a little easier. And I am going to be doing a full gear review video soon to discuss everything that I have in my pack and kind of dial down on the weight of what my pack will be like, without food, water, or anything like that, but to show the base weight that I'll be carrying. I think with food and water and everything, I'm probably going to be carrying something like 35 pounds, which I know freaks some people out, but it's not horrible for me. I've carried a 35-pound pack before. I've gone on a long distance trail before where I had, I think, 7 days worth of food, which I know is more than you'll need out there on the Appalachian Trail most of the time. But on the trail that I was going on, I didn't know how fast I was going to be, so I planned to just bring extra food like I know a lot of people do. So again, maybe planning is one of the issues. Who knows? Anyway, I'm going to be hiking in, I believe, 8 days. Stay tuned for that video. Of course, I'll put that out there as well. And I am 22 days away from leaving my house and just 23 days away from hiking up Amicalola Falls and seeing Springer Mountain. Stay tuned for that. Thank you very much, y'all. Take care.